Hi there, it's Nicole for Fawn, and today I have a card featuring the Best Pun Ever stamp set and dies, and I used them to create a simple framed accent. So I'm using the stitched rectangle frames to frame up the cute little fan and then the little pun greetings underneath. To start, I am using the stitched rectangles dies from Fawn, and I'm going to die cut the A2 sized frame from some dark gray cardstock, and then I'm going to use quite a bit smaller frame and die cut that middle piece out. So I'm going to be using both of these pieces actually for the card, but I want to cut that out because I want to give it that framed up appearance where it has that nice black mat. So first I'll die cut these, and then I'm going to take that same smaller sized frame that I just used, and I am going to take some black cardstock now and use a stitched rectangle just one size smaller than the frame I just used and pop it inside. I'm not even going to use any tape or anything to hold it in place. It's enough smaller that it should sit right there, and I'll die cut that from black cardstock. This is going to give me that nice matted look so that it frames up the cute little accent perfectly. So now I have my outside border, that inside matted piece, and then I'll use that dark gray for the inside as well. I am going to take the #1 stamp from the Best Pun Ever stamp set and ink it up with the Fawn Hippo ink and stamp that all the way around the outside of my wide frame. And I'm going to just kind of turn it this way and that and make sure I cover the entire surface of the frame for a really fun tone-on-tone look that reinforces the theme of the card. So it's kind of your #1, you're fantastic. Just a very fun way to reinforce the theme of the card. I'll continue stamping this till it's all the way covered. When the ink dries, it is going to be considerably lighter than what it is when it is wet. However, it will you'll still be able to see that really subtle tone-on-tone look. I'm going to stamp the fan from the Best Pun Ever stamp set on some smooth white cardstock using Memento Tuxedo black ink. Before I color that in, I am going to grab a white A2 sized card base. This is a 5.5 by 4.25 inch card base, and I'm going to lay out the pieces or the die cut rectangles that I have for my card here real quickly. Kind of make sure I have everything lined up the way I want. I'm going to go ahead and stamp my greeting before I color in the fan. So I've taken the You're Fantastic stamps from the Best Pun Ever stamp set. I'm going to position them there with the words one on top of another. I'm going to take a powder tool to that inside rectangle just so that the embossing powder, when I use it, sticks only to the stamped image and not anything else. I'll ink up the greeting with Versamark ink and stamp that there along the bottom third of that rectangle, and then I'm going to use white embossing powder on the greeting so that it really pops off of that dark gray background. So I'll sprinkle on that embossing powder and heat that up. I'm going to go ahead and put together the base of the card now. I'm going to just hold that rectangle, that large rectangle frame in place. I've already applied the adhesive to the back of that center piece, and then just position it right there where it's going to go. Get it flattened nice. Then I'm going to take the black frame and the gray frame. I'm going to flip those over and piece them together, just kind of hold them there. And I'm going to take some foam adhesive and completely cover the back of those two pieces. The foam adhesive itself is actually going to hold the two frames together, and that's going to give it a little bit of dimension and really help frame up the accent and greeting in the center of the card. Now I kind of got my black frame not quite where I wanted it, so I did peel it up kind of carefully. I'm lucky that worked out and it didn't tear it any worse than it did. It's only torn on the back. You can't see it on the front of the card, but I did kind of position it and push it out a little bit so you can't see any of that white peeking through between the two frames. Now I'm going to take my Copic markers and color in the fan. I'm using some reds for the fan part itself. I'm using R22, 24, and 46. And we'll color in all of the base portion of that fan with the red markers. Just building up that color, adding the shadowing and things with my darkest red, just around the very edges. So I worked my way lightest to darkest, and then I'm kind of going back the other way with my mid-tone and then my lightest marker to blend it out really nicely. And I can go back over that if I need to, if I don't quite like how it's all colored or whatever, but that looks pretty good. Now for the fan blades themselves, I'm going to use some cool gray markers. Color in with my base color, which was C3. I'm going to go in with my mid-tone, which is the C5. And then I'll go in with my darkest, which is the C7. And then again, I'll go back the opposite direction and go, now that I have my darkest, I'll go back with my mid-tone and kind of smooth that out. Or I guess I went with my lightest and smoothed it out. But then I did go back in with my mid-tone and blend it out just a little bit more, pull a little more of that darker color a little further out, and then I'll go with my lightest again to smooth any lines that might be there. Now I'm going to take B000 and B00 and color in my fan. So I colored in the base portion. I wanted it to have movement though, so I'm kind of flicking or feathering in some lines with my little bit darker color, and then I took the colorless blender and I'm creating some lines and moving that color away from those areas as well. This is just going to give the illusion that the fan is moving around. I'll color in the buttons then with those same gray markers I used for the fan blades. And then I'm going to take my coordinating die and die cut that out. Now a little bit of the gray bled out, so I just went in with the blue and kind of tried to push that color back inside the fan blade. I'll position the coordinating die right over that and run it through the Big Shot. I'm using a little washi tape to hold that die in place so it doesn't shift while I run it through the machine. Then I'm going to take a little bit of adhesive and attach that to my card, and then I'm going to take the Wink of Stella clear glitter brush marker and color in the portion of the fan where it's moving. So any of that blue area of the fan, I am going to use the Wink of Stella to give it a little bit of a glittery shimmer finish. Then I'm going to take some glossy accents and color in the rest of the fan with those to give it a really nice glossy dimensional finish. So any of the areas that are red or gray, so the fan base and the fan blades. And I'll completely cover that, and then I'm going to let the card sit flat for probably 20 to 30 minutes to let it dry. You can see there those little white areas where I used the colorless blender, and it helped move the ink away, and it gives that illusion of movement. Thank you for watching this video showcasing the new Lawn Fawn Best Pun Ever stamp set and coordinating dies. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.